Welcome back to Ambi Talks. It's Ambitious B here with another video. We are talking adulting, buying and writing checks. Stay tuned. In this day and age, checks can seem like the stepchild of money transactions, but it's kind of important to know how to use these things. As you grow and as you learn, you're going to use these checks for things that are really important in your life. So you might use a check for paying for your deposits, for your apartment or a home. You might use it if you have a childcare provider. You might have to pay rent with a check because some complexes might not accept a debit card. And you don't want to have to go to the ATM every couple of weeks or every month, once a month. You don't want to pay your rent anyway. But either way, that's not the point. You might have to put money down for a down payment or pay for something for school, like school dues if you're in an honor society, or apparel. Or if you're supporting small businesses, some of them might not take debit cards just yet. I've used a check for a lot of these things. I think the first time I wrote a check was in high school. I had a high school job, so I had a little bit of money, and I was like, I'm gonna be proactive and have checks. And I wound up using it to pay for, it was either dues for an honor society that I was in, or to buy a shirt for that honor society. But I wrote the check, and you know what? I wrote it wrong. It wasn't that bad. I just forgot to sign it. With checks, you can buy them from your banking institution, or you can buy them online. When you buy from your banking institution, if you buy it online, there'll be a section under your banking profile that says reorder or buy checks. The thing you have to be careful with is the price of these checks. At some banking institutions, they'll charge you a lot more, but there are some banking institutions that won't charge you for checks. I did notice that for the banking institution that I know that won't charge you for checks, it was a credit union, so I don't know if that's part of the reason. If you know or have an answer, leave a comment below. So there's several sites for you to use to buy checks. There's checks.com, you can get them from Walmart, and I could really list on a variety of sites, but I'm not going to right now. I've had a good experience with checks.com. You can buy checks, a box of checks for like $5 or $6, and then if you want to, you can pay for shipping. I like to have mine tracked, so I pay a couple of dollars for tracking. Or if you're good with having them sent without tracking, you can have free shipping. So the process for getting these checks. On any of these web pages, they'll start with your banking information. If you're going through your bank, they will have that information. Your bank does use a third-party site to create your checks in most cases, but through your bank, it links, it gives your information, so that's all loaded. On an outside website, you'll upload that information yourself. They'll ask if you want single or duplicate checks. What does that mean? It means you can have single checks that it's a check, or you can have a duplicate book where it is your check, and then there's a carbon copy that has fields for you to say, I paid for soccer practice, or I paid my friend for food, or I paid my mom for washing my clothes. And it won't have your signature copied or your banking information, but you can keep track of, in the memo box, what you paid for. You may also be asked how many boxes you want. So a check box, it comes with 4 sets of check books. Each have about 25 checks on them, and they'll ask you where to start your checks. If you've never had checks before, you can start with 001. If you have had checks before and you don't know where you left off, you could go with something like 200 or 250 just to make sure you're not duplicating checks. Then you get into customizing. If you haven't already, you'll choose a design for your checkbooks. This could be something you upload, or you'll have a variety of things to choose from. If you go through your bank, you might have less options. If you go through Checks or Walmart, you'll have a lot more options on what do you want on the background of your checks. Or if you just want it simple, you can just get really plain checks. You can also make it even more personal. You can add inspirational messages, you can add pictures onto it, but of course those things cost money. Outside of your checks, after you fully designed it and made it personal and made it look cool, you can add on accessories. So maybe you're gonna get a checkbook cover or a check register so you can keep track of your transactions, or deposit slips. You can add all of it onto your transaction and check out. You'll decide on shipping, you'll decide how fast you want it. It takes time for them to actually print your checks, so just because you choose a 2-day shipping, you won't actually get it in 2 days. They'll need to print it. Then after they print it, they'll send it out in 2 days. So don't wait too long to buy checks. If you can avoid it, buy checks when you know you need checks, or before you know you need checks. And just like that, you've adulted. Alright, now we're going to take you through writing a check. So the anatomy of a check. In your top right hand corner, you'll have the date. You'll put in the date. Simple. It's fairly easy, right? The next line under that is, who are you writing this check to? Is it a corporation or a company or a person? You can enter there. If you don't know, ask the person that you're writing the check for to give you the name that they want you to use, because if they try to deposit a check and it doesn't have a registered name, they might have trouble depositing the check. The line under that is for you to write out how much the check is worth. Now, normally I would go in order from the person that you're writing the check to. You go over to the right, and there's a little box, and that tells you, well, it doesn't tell you anything, but that's where you would write how much you're writing the check for in numbers. So you write that, say we're doing this for $100. Underneath there, you have to write out that $100. 100 in letters, and you'll add the word and. Then you'll do how many cents you have. If you have no cents, you'll just do 00 over 100. If you have some change, like let's just call it 150 now, you'll do 50 over 100. Now, at the bottom of the check, on the left side is your memo box. That's where you'll write some kind of tidbit about why you're writing a check. For me, I'm writing a check because I'm paying for daycare for this week. On the other side of that, you'll sign away your money. I'm sorry. Then you're done. Share your comments, like this video, and share with your friends. Share the knowledge. Thanks for having me.